Why are people claiming to have proof that Epstein is still alive? And what the hell's it got to do with Fortnite? Well, ultimately, people are claiming that they have linked one of Epstein's real emails to a Fortnite account that is being active after his death. And when this started going viral, that account was immediately made private. Pictures like this also started circulating at the same time, claiming to have found Epstein walking around in Israel. Problem is, those pictures AI generated. And as for Epstein ripping Fortnite in the Big 26, problem is it does contain a lot of correct information, which is what makes it so misleading. It all starts with a real email that he used and a real username that he seemingly used for YouTube. Both of these are from the DOJ files themselves. There's also this real email 3 months before he died saying that a $25 charge was for V-Bucks on Fortnite. So people putting all of these things together wanted to see if he had an account on Fortnite. And lo and behold, Little Saint Jeff 1 was a real account. The account showed that the player was active during Chapter 2 Season 1, which was only released in October 2019, 2 months after he died. There were also claims that the account was logging wins all the way up to 2025, but I cannot confirm that because when I went to go and look, this account has now been set to private. But there's two main reasons why this is probably not Epstein's account at all. Firstly, there is no evidence that this active Fortnite account can be linked to Jeffrey Epstein's email, because as we can see, the only email indicating that he did have Fortnite himself is this email, and the address that it was sent to was redacted. And two, there are actually multiple users on Fortnite with this exact username, like this one, for example, in Turkey, which is not private. There's also no way of knowing when they set their username to Little Saint Jeff 1. They could be trolling and have just done it after the files released. So fortunately, it doesn't look like Epstein is playing Fortnite while the world is combing through his emails.
Keep scrolling if you love Satan, but if you love Jesus, watch this video. The Bible says that if you're not following God, you're following Satan. I know this is scary and I know it can be hard to believe, but it's the truth. But you can escape from following the devil. If you want to learn more, go click the video I pinned in the comments.
Here are some reasons why Juice Wrld might still be alive. Juice Wrld actually predicted his own death in a tweet. His tweet from 2017 says, "My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple years, then fake my death." In Juice's song, All Girls Are the Same, he sings about John Lennon. John Lennon was actually assassinated by one of his fans on December 8th, which is the exact same day that Juice died. And this video shows someone who looks extremely similar to Juice hiding his face. He also mentioned his death in one of his songs, singing "We Ain't Making It Past 21, which is crazy because when he died, he had actually just turned 21. This TikTok trend would have people stop halfway through dancing to Lucid Dreams and experience a seizure. And what's weird is this trend was before his death and Juice was killed by actually having a seizure.
This is the only way to survive if you're buried alive. First, you're gonna want to try to stay as calm as possible. And whatever you do, don't panic. Also, you need to slow down your breathing so you don't use up whatever little oxygen you have. Next, you need to find something hard like a rock or a belt buckle. Now you can use this to bang on the coffin and make some noise. This way, if someone happens to be walking by, you'll catch their attention. If this doesn't work, the next step is to use a sharp object to make a hole at the top of the coffin. Once you made the hole, you need to push the dirt underneath you, and then you can start to make your way up. And if you've been buried recently, the dirt should still be soft, allowing you to escape to your freedom. And please don't start asking how I know this. You really don't want to know.
Okay, who made this? Seriously? They look nothing alike, but you know who Vecna does resemble? This guy right here, Tales from the Crypt Keeper. We used to call him Doggy when we were little. Look! They're twins, identical. So many people are terrified of Vecna too. They're like having nightmares about him. They think they see him through the window. But this is who told us bedtime stories in the 90s.
Our story is about a man with nobler ambitions.
The only thing that would terrify me about this individual is a voice note from him because that voice is a little too creepy.
I saw a means to realize my potential, to transcend my human form.
This man impersonated his mother for 3 years, hid her body in his house, and all to collect her pension. 82-year-old Graziella lived in northern Italy, and on November 16th, she went to renew her ID in person. When she arrived to the office, the worker that helped her noticed that Graziella had a lot of hair on her neck, a deep voice, and what looked to be a beard visibly showing through the heavy makeup she was wearing. They thought, this woman doesn't look like her old photo, so immediately the worker called the police, and they reviewed the surveillance cameras and noticed that Graziella arrived at the office in a car. Yet, she never had a driver's license. Police then confront who they thought was Graziella, and were shocked when they discovered that this person was actually Graziella's 56-year-old son, who was also a former nurse and currently unemployed. It turns out this man has been impersonating his mother since her passing in 2022, and all to collect her pension, which was a total of $93,000. Now, this isn't the craziest part, because when Graziella passed away, her son hid her body in his home, wrapped in a bedsheet and a sleeping bag. It's still not confirmed how exactly Graziella passed away, but it's believed that it was natural causes. But I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't, and her son had more to do with her death. Now, one of the most common questions people have is, how did this man go 3 years convincing everyone that his mother was still alive, and how did no one ever notice or even check up on her?
Listen up, because in 20 days, these files might change everything. Save this video right now, just so you remember, or just in case this video gets taken down. Because Epstein files just revealed why we attacked Venezuela, Greenland, and soon Iran. I just realized people could probably make millions with this, so pay attention. One of the files talk about a Western Asset Reserve, with a launch date of January 20th, 2026, with their official announcement the end of February. It also says alignment from DJT and BlackRock in place. Now look at this article posted on 4chan 4 months ago. It lines up perfectly with everything said in the email. BlackRock Western Asset Reserve, and it says it's tied to a coin called Wrld that'll be launched on USD1, Trump's cryptocurrency. Now if you dig a little deeper, you notice that BlackRock's official wallet holds a huge amount of Wrld. And then I found out that the Trump team also holds a huge amount. In the email, it stated that this coin was supposed to launch January 20th, which is the exact date this coin launched. They're predicting that on February 4th, Trump is supposed to announce this coin. At this current market cap, this can 100 to 1,000x by the time Trump even announces it in 20 days. For instance, put 1,000, it'll turn into $100,000. Now this is not financial advice, but if you want the contact address, comment Wrld and I'll send the right one to you, just so you don't accidentally buy the wrong one.
Most disturbing photos ever taken, part 1. This woman was planning on marrying a man that her mother didn't approve of. A few days later, she disappeared. Most people assumed she had run off with her lover, but that wasn't exactly the case. 25 years later, the police in the area were tipped off that she was actually being held captive by her mother. When they entered the home, they found the girl bound and starved. She had been in the attic for 25 years. After this young girl was rescued from a concentration camp in Poland, she was asked to draw her home. Most of the children who had been rescued drew themselves with their families before the war had been started. She, however, could only scrawl chaotic, random lines. In 2005, on New Year's Eve, a young woman was drinking in the catacombs below Ukraine. She became lost down there, stumbling around in the dark. Her body was never discovered until this group of teens supposedly stumbled across it. Like for part 2.
If you ever see this, you need to run fast. This thing might not look dangerous, but if you get too close, you might be in some serious danger. This one is crazy. Make sure to follow and like so everybody can see this. Believe it or not, this is one of the most dangerous animals on the planet. This ordinary shell is actually a cone snail. They are one of the most venomous and toxic creatures on the planet. If you ever got stung by one of these, all it takes is one sting to paralyze you. So be careful next time you pick up shells at the beach. Make sure to share this with a friend so you can keep them safe.
The moon landing was not fake. Let me explain. So since NASA is aiming to land astronauts back on the moon again by 2028, I decided why not debunk all your conspiracy theories, like one of them being, it was fake because the flag was waving, meaning it's proof that it was filmed here on Earth. However, that's completely false, because the flag was specially designed where it had a horizontal rod at the top which it was being held up by, and the reason it looked like it was waving, well, it was simply because it was movement from the astronauts moving the flag. Yeah. Nothing fake there. Next, another reason why people think it's fake is because there's no stars in the sky. Well, it's because the moon photos were actually taken during the daytime. The cameras were set for bright sunlight, so the stars were too faint to show. Remember, no atmosphere means a black sky during the day or night. Finally, the last reason people say it's fake is because of this footprint left on the moon and how it looks nothing like the footprint from the suit. Well, it's because it's not the footprint from the suit. They were actually wearing boot covers. Yeah, nothing fake here.
Imagine being hunted in your own home by strangers who have no reason to kill you. The movie Strangers follows James and Kristen, who retreat to a remote vacation home after an emotionally tense night out. What begins as a quiet, uncomfortable evening quickly turns sinister when a strange girl knocks on their door in the early hours of the morning, asking for someone who doesn't live there. Though it seems like a simple mistake, more knocks follow, then the power goes out. Soon the couple realizes they're being watched. 3 masked strangers begin stalking the house, silently appearing in windows, inside hallways, and just out of sight, turning the isolation of the home into a trap. The terror escalates from psychological torment to outright violence as the strangers toy with them, cutting off any chance of escape. When Kristen finally asks why they were being targeted, the attackers chillingly reply, "Because you were home," revealing there was never a motive at all. Inspired by real-life break-ins and the fear of senseless violence, the film builds dread through realism and silence rather than gore, making it one of the most unsettling home invasion thrillers of its time. If this sounds interesting to you, then go watch the movie Strangers now. It's absolutely terrifying.
This girl started to suspect that her dog might be a skinwalker. It began with small things, strange movements, an empty stare, and a low, unsettling growl. But then it became truly disturbing. She decided to test an old legend and poured a line of salt in front of the door. Her dog, normally the first to rush outside, suddenly stopped and just stared at the salt. Then it slowly turned around and walked back into the house, while the other dog calmly stepped right over the line without hesitation. In another video, the girl says the story gets even darker. She was filming when she suddenly noticed her dog standing at the top of the stairs, just watching her. But that made no sense, because the wall beside the stairs was far too high for the dog to climb up there. And the moment she realized it, the dog vanished in an instant. That's when she decided to test everything one last time. She placed the dog inside a circle of salt. If it stepped out easily, everything would be fine. If not, then it wasn't really her dog. She called to it softly, using the same gentle voice she always did. Any normal dog would run straight to its owner, but this one didn't move. She offered its favorite food. She even opened the door to let it outside. Nothing worked, and then the terrifying realization hit her. It wasn't that the dog didn't want to leave the circle. It couldn't, which means the real horror was much closer than she had ever imagined. What do you think? Paranoia, or a sign she was living with something that only looked like her dog? Follow so you don't lose the channel, if you're not afraid to get scared at night.
YouTubers' houses before and after fame. Phase rug. Before. After. Mr. Beast. Before. After. Logan Paul. Before. After. PDP. Before. After.
You know the difference between a divorce and a circumcision? With a divorce, you get rid of the whole schmuck. This old man went to the doctor. Doctor's, what's your problem? He says, doctor, I want you to lower my sex drive. He says, at your age, it's all in your head. He says, I know, I want it lowered.
See the starboard propeller slipping on the keyway. You know, it could be the shaft is shot, or it could just be the key, but most likely it's done damage to the shaft. You should not be able to spin this independently of the shaft like this.
This is the place where we go for lunch. Actually, at night it's a club. I've never seen so many beautiful girls in one place than here.
Somebody tell Art the Clown to retire because there's a new clown in town. His name is Friendo. He's from the new movie Clown in the Cornfield, and he's pretty terrifying. And if you think it's gonna be another funny clown movie, no, it's the same producers as Smile, and that movie had nothing to smile about. The movie takes place in a small Midwestern town, and something strange happens in this town when teenagers start to go missing one by one. I mean, they probably thought he wanted to be their friend because he does look like an Instagram influencer. I am gonna show you a little bit of the trailer, which may give you nightmares, and you tell me if Friendo wants to be your friend or not.
Be careful who you hang out with. There's some real weirdos at this town.
Yeah, this. The World Anti-Doping Agency is now looking into claims that Olympic athletes are injecting hyaluronic acid into their penises to enlarge them for a competitive advantage. Yeah, and similar to the accused athletes, this is becoming a bigger and bigger scandal by the day. Because when this was first reported by a German newspaper last month, it was kind of laughed off because of how ridiculous this sounds. They allege that skiers who need to stay in the air for as long as possible were trying to find ways of being given a larger suit. Because, and I'm not kidding, quote, every centimeter on a suit counts. And perhaps because some of these men have heard that saying one too many times, it sparked an alleged bright idea. Get some hyaluronic acid, which is not illegal, can increase penis circumference by a centimeter or two, and can last up to 18 months. And then when it's time to get 3D measured, which is a very precise procedure, you'll be given a suit with a few extra centimeters around the crotch. But as I said, fairly, most people laugh this off. But now, after a formal complaint was lodged and the Winter Olympics is officially kicked off, the World Anti-Doping Agency is now looking into it. Which also begs the question, is this considered doping? And if so, how will you, excuse the pun, measure if someone is cheated or not? Good luck on that one.
This is why you should never drink bubble tea. In 2019, a 19-year-old girl ordered bubble tea for the first time with her brother. They then decided to go for a little drive while she was sipping on her tea. But as she was drinking the bubble tea, she noticed that the pearls were hard to suck up. So she sucked even harder to get the pearls out from the bottom of the cup and into the straw. This caused multiple boba pearls to get stuck in her throat. Shortly after she started choking, her brother called the ambulance and she was rushed to the hospital. But after doing CPR and emergency surgery, she passed away.
Did you know that over 2,500 New York subway trains have been dumped in the Atlantic Ocean? Oh my God. This is part 200 and something of some of the worst submechanophobia things I've ever seen, and I did not know this, and I'm gonna go cry. This photo of it sinking in the ocean is going to haunt my nightmares. Why did they do this, might you ask? Why did they yote them into the ocean? Apparently it was to make artificial reefs for the fish. Excuse me. Fish do not need subway trains. Fish have existed for millennia. New York subway trains have barely existed for 100 years. What reason would they want this? The autistic fish are loving it, though. I can say that. I'm autistic. This is wrong. This is wrong. Why would you do this? Also, what's growing on them? It looks like asbestos. It might actually be asbestos. Look at this little guy. He's probably like, what? I didn't do my job properly? Why have you forsaken me, mother? But yeah, no, this is gross. The submechanophobia inside of me is freaking out, and I do not like this photo whatsoever. And what do you mean there are 2,500 of them? I'm gonna have nightmares that I'm stuck in the Atlantic Ocean, and there are thousands of these down there now. Thank you so much.
Sorry, but what the hell is that? People have spotted what appears to be floating cities You gotta be shitting me, haven't you? What is this? Some people thinking this is hell or a gateway to the afterlife. Guys, calm down. This is what it is. Now, granted, this is pretty crazy. If you're in the middle of nowhere and you look in the clouds and see what looks like a load of buildings, you're gonna be like, bro, what is that? Now, this is actually known as a Fata Morgana mirage. Now, this only happens when conditions are literally perfect, which is why this is so rare and you don't see it much. Makes it look like things that are far away are doubled or even levitating. Very similar to how we get mirages in the desert and things like that. It's just like on an extreme level. Obviously, if there's a city in the far distance and the conditions literally line up perfectly, it's very, very rare, then you can actually get phenomenons like this, where you basically see the city that's miles away floating above your head.
If you ever see this, you need to swim fast. This video is crazy. Make sure you follow and like so everybody can see this. If you see one of these swimming up to you, you might be in some serious danger. These monsters just look like any other fish. They're also found all over the United States. They're actually called sea lampreys, and they're extremely aggressive. They have thousands of little tiny razor-sharp teeth. Whenever they get close to you, they will bite into your leg and not let go. They cause some serious damage to whatever they bite on. Make sure to share this with a friend so you can keep them safe.
This was the real-life Michael Myers. He was born in the late 1950s in a small Midwestern town where nothing ever happened. His parents described him as easy. He didn't cry much, didn't laugh either. As a toddler, he could sit for hours staring at walls, unmoving, as if listening to something no one else could hear. By the time he was 6, neighbors began to avoid the house. Michael would stand in the front yard on Halloween nights, wearing whatever mask he found that year, watching other children trick-or-treat without joining them. If spoken to, he wouldn't respond. If touched, he wouldn't react. Inside the home, something was decaying. His parents fought constantly. His older sister mocked him, called him broken. Michael learned early that silence was safer than emotion. The more invisible he became, the more everyone forgot he was there, until one night they didn't. On Halloween, while his family slept, Michael walked into the kitchen and picked up a knife. There was no anger, no panic, just a calm curiosity, like testing whether something would break if enough pressure was applied. By morning, the house was quiet forever. Michael was found standing outside, mask on, knife in hand. He didn't run. He didn't resist. When asked why, he said nothing. Doctors later said something chilling. Michael didn't snap. He arrived. Years passed in locked rooms and white hallways. No progress, no remorse, just that same empty stare. And then, one autumn night, he walked out. Not to hide, not to escape, but to return. Because Michael Myers was never chasing revenge. He was answering a call that began the night he learned what he was capable of. And once he remembered, he never forgot again.
The real Willy Wonka had a very dark secret. Tonka Yahari, a highly successful entrepreneur in the early 1900s, owned a chocolate factory in Philadelphia. All his workers were kids, as he preferred cheap labor. Known for being stingy with his money, Tonka offered tours of his factory, but tourists who participated in these visits mysteriously disappeared. Over 200 people vanished during these tours, never to be seen again. Due to the wealth and economic power Tonka brought to the city, no one dared to speak up out of fear. That changed when a group of 4 friends decided to take a tour of the chocolate factory. Charlie Quinn, Joseph Catalini, Murray James, and Salvador Volcano. During the guided tour led by Tonka Yahari, the 4 friends began to feel an unsettling vibe about the factory owner. At the end of the tour, they arrived at a chocolate waterfall. The group dared Joseph to push Tonka into the waterfall as a harmless prank. After being pushed, Tonka drowned, and the police were called. When Tonka's body was recovered, it had already transformed into a frozen chocolate statue. In an attempt to save him, doctors used a hammer to break through the chocolate layer.
Top 3 biggest robberies ever recorded. Antwerp Diamond Heist 2003, $100 million. Robbed the world's most secure diamond vault. Banco Central Heist 2005, $17 million. Criminals dug a 260-foot underground tunnel. Lufthansa Heist 1978, $5.8 million approximately equals $27 million today. The robbery took under 19 minutes.
You see, if one day your bro calls you and he went like, bro, we should low-key explore this abandoned cemetery, just say no and end the call unless you want to be traumatized forever. It all started with a group of 4 friends who lived in Alabama. You see, one night, these friends wanted to visit a place called the Adams Grove Cemetery. This was a cemetery that was very known, especially by the locals, and it's known for a reason. It's known for being haunted. Like, yes, if you ask somebody from Alabama what's the place that you should avoid there is a high chance that he will tell you, avoid the Adams Grove Cemetery. So all this talks about a cemetery really got the friends intrigued, okay? They wanted to see by themselves if this place is worth the hype or not. So after all this talk, the friends got ready. They waited until midnight because it's more enjoyable like that, and then they finally went in. The first thing they realized when they went in was the fact that the graves were not organized. You see how in different cemeteries, every grave is like horizontally aligned with the other one? Well, here that was not the case. In this cemetery specifically, the graves are more like randomly put around the woods, and they are surrounded by huge trees. This right here gave it more of a scary look. Even the friends admitted that they were not used to see this. Anyway, they kept exploring, and this is where the friend group started to be divided. Not literally, but like in the way they think. If you remember well, they were a group of 4 friends, okay? Well, 2 of them came here specifically to check the graves. So they wanted to see the details about the graves and the people buried here. You know, how they look like, the names, the date of birth, and all that. Meanwhile, the other 2 didn't give a shit, okay? They're like, bro, rest in peace to everybody who's buried here, right? But we did not come here for that. We're not checking graves, it's not fun. We just came here for the love of the game. We want that adrenaline rush, and then boom, we're gone. So obviously the other 2, you know, the ones checking the graves, didn't agree with them. They told them that they can do whatever they want. They can look around as long as they don't go too far. So this is where the group got separated. The ones who were not interested in the graves, well, they kept walking. And while doing that, one of them noticed the light from very far. When he noticed that, he told his bro who was next to him, and they both got closer to see what was the source of it. When they got close enough, they both noticed that it was a man, and the light was actually a flashlight that he was holding. So here, these 2 had 2 options. In this situation, they either walk around, pretend like they never saw him, and leave the cemetery, or interact with him. They both silently agreed that they should interact with him, and the reason why they did that, well, because they were like, okay, this is gotta be some explorer. You know, he's exploring the cemetery just like us, and even though he's some crazy guy, we're beating the shit out of him. So we should walk nicely and basically do this. Wave at him so he can see us. And that's exactly what they did. They both went closer, they raised their hand, and then they waved so he can see them. And he actually did, and then he waved back. This is where the 2 were like, okay, he's probably chill. Let's just do our thing and, you know, keep an eye on him just in case. So the 2 kept walking, pretending like they were minding their business. In reality, they were not, okay? They were keeping an eye on him, trying to not lose him. After a short while of doing this man who just stood here actually talked, more like screamed, okay? He said, "It is really nice out here." After he said that, the 2 friends looked at each other. Without saying a word, they immediately understood the assignment. They should get the fuck out of there because this is not a human. They immediately started running, trying to join the other 2 and then get the hell out of here. And one of them, while they were running, looked back, and this man is just standing, not moving at all. He joined the other 2 who are still checking the graves, and they told them to hurry up, there is no time to explain. They got out of the cemetery, made sure they're far enough, and then they started talking to each other. 2 friends started explaining what they saw, and the other 2, you know, the ones checking the grave, did not believe them at all. They were basically in complete disbelief, saying stuff like, bro, if he's not human, then what is he? Well, this is where they both explained that his voice did not sound human at all. It sounded like somebody who's trying to imitate a human. That was a thing that they both agreed on. The voice was really weird, but there were other things. One of them noticed that he was not moving a lot, and I mean, okay, everybody noticed that, but he also noticed that he was moving like a robot. You know, he was having a hard time moving, and when he did it, it didn't feel human. The other one noticed that he was trying so hard to blink, but he couldn't. Like, he had his eyes wide open, looking at one direction, and when he tried to blink, he couldn't. He was either closing one eye or, you know, really struggling, trying to close both. Even though the ones who were checking the grave did not completely believe them, they were like, bro, you just got freaked out. It's probably a normal person. The other 2 completely promised that what they saw was not human.